Hello guys, today is the 9th of May 2026 and I think it's time for us to discuss something that could be important in the second half of this year. So today we are going to talk about AI, energy prices and of course American politics and how these trends in these domains could intertwine and produce something interesting and hopefully actionable for us. So the first thing is AI. At this point, I'm pretty convinced that it's like 100% for me that it's the technology that's here to stay and it will completely revolutionize the way we live and the way we work. And there will be drastic changes and some of them are happening at exactly this moment. And the thing about radical changes in our lives is that it's very difficult to figure out that they're actually happening as they are happening. I dedicated some time of my life to studying complex events and difficult and very dramatic events, for example, such as collapse of Rome or Russian Revolution. And one thing I could say for sure is that when you go to the granular level of these events, which could involve diaries and letters that ordinary citizens were exchanging as these events unfolded, you will see that there is usually like 100%, almost 100% of the time, there is a complete lack of understanding of what's happening and what's about to happen. Most assessments are completely wrong. And what's even more interesting, exactly the same situation is at the level of people who are supposedly making decisions and making things happen. So that study, that hobby that I had quite a while ago actually made me very resilient to any kind of conspiracy theory, because conspiracy theories imply that there is a plan that's being executed by somebody and we are just pawns in this game. But history suggests otherwise. Most of the time those who are supposed to make decisions understand as little or sometimes even less than ordinary citizens of countries and people in this world at large about the things that are taking place. And I think that historical necessity is the core driver. But that was a bit of a tangent, so let's go back to LLMs. I'm pretty sure that LLMs have the potential to cut working force, blue-collar working force by tenfold in the coming years. And this doesn't necessarily mean that like 9 out of 10 of blue-collar employees, office employees, will be fired. It would be a relatively slow process where on one hand we'll see the reduction in new job openings and it will be complemented by additional layoffs, and it's actually happening at exactly the moment we are discussing this. So that would lead us to the reduction in consumer activity, because blue-collar office workers are very significant in this economy. They spend money, they use their credit cards, and they will be doing less of these consumption activities in the coming months and years and down to next decades on. But at the same time, you gotta understand that this equation is very difficult. It has lots of variables, and while LLMs and AI do suppress consumer activity, at the same time they suppress inflation by supporting production of goods and services that are way cheaper, way faster to produce, and that could become a very effective countermeasure to the problem of constantly rising liquidity that's being issued by central banks in the States and all across the world. So the amount of services and goods in the economy could outpace the amount at which they inject liquidity into the system. This way, inflation could be suppressed, effectively suppressed. And I actually think that we are seeing these effects in action at this moment, because in my estimation, inflation should be way higher. And LLMs actually became a thing just in time, maybe to prevent the second wave of inflation, the post-COVID stimulus that was carried out by the Federal Reserve and other banks across the globe. So I think it's already in action, and it's already happening right now. Oil is another important variable in this equation, and there are a few things to keep in mind here. So the first one is that the price of it is doomed to go down, and the mechanic here, and it is actually a mechanic, is rather simple. So the oil price becomes high. So what happens next? Manufacturing is becoming more expensive, and especially logistics. Logistics account for roughly 50% of total oil consumption worldwide. So as a result of that, goods and services become more expensive, and AI will be noticeable here with its support of output, but not at the moment. So the prices will go up and the demand will go down. So the demand for oil eventually will go down too. But that's only one consideration. The second one is that the market is way more flexible these days, and there are new big producers such as Guyana waiting to become noticeable in the market. Cartels are very weak, like OPEC and OPEC plus. Global logistics are way more flexible than they were before, and what's probably most important is the technology. We have the technology today to actively suppress this oil shock, and personally I think that we will see investment in alternative energy skyrocket in the coming years. And obviously a word alternative energy is a bit of a bad PR, but at the same time it's simply inevitable. And actually, judging by what market reveals to us, I think that atom is about to have a huge comeback in the coming years and decades, because it has the capability to solve the problem, it has the capability to become very local, and as a result not dependent on international stuff such as wars and logistics disruptions. The basic technology is there, and the only thing that's missing is the next generation, like the ability to put it like in your backyard, so to speak. I'm not encouraging having nuclear reactors in your backyard, but at some point you will probably find yourself in a situation when it's about to happen. So that's another thing that's quite obvious and has good chances of getting traction in the second half of this year. When it comes to Iran, I think that the worst is about to happen, and the worst means that the situation will persist more or less as it is right now. So there will be no ground operation. The current Iranian regime will stay as it is, and maybe even toughened a bit by the challenges they went through, and also radicalized, even past the point it was radical past the point of their previous radicalization, and this is bad news for the region. And if the ground operation is about to take place, which is, as I've said, very low probability in my estimation, it will be bad news for the region. Because when it initially happened, I expected a campaign of bombings to be concluded by a very small ground operation, maybe similar to what we saw in Venezuela, coupled with local opposition to the regime, but that wasn't the case eventually. So I think the region will stay permanently destabilized, and that could actually hurt Dubai, for example, quite significantly. But we'll see. Anything is possible, but like the probabilities of something decisive are very low. And obviously we're seeing a pattern here, like the states are able to execute complex campaign, like special operations are incredibly efficient, aviation is efficient, but when it comes to ground forces, the system isn't in the mode that can support casualties, that can withstand, like the social, the political, the economic system just can't withstand the casualties associated with ground invasion at this point. But before that, and here we are venturing into American politics, before that, oil prices will produce drastic changes in political behavior of the population of the states, because it's already visible there, and it will become visible even outside of the states. But the states are obviously the most important country on this planet right now, because of the market, because of military power. And what's going to happen, at least in my point of view, I think we will see a democratic win in midterms later this year, and that could actually be interpreted by the market as a good thing, because we have to see which Democrats will oppose conservatives, Republicans, during these midterms. I think the core question is, will they be more centrist? Will they be able to overcome this political polarization, which in my opinion is a bad thing, because obviously it serves interests of politicians, but not so much interests of the population, of the economy, and of the world as a result. So the key question is, will they be more centrist, or will they become even more polarized? I don't have answers for that at the moment. Unfortunately, I don't have any clues that will point us in a positive direction at the moment, but this is the topic to study, because historically the states were the most powerful, the most productive, the most stable version of themselves when they were governed by the centrist government. Like the whole premise of the system of the states is counterbalances, or like balance at large. When the balance was lost to the political polarization, the states and the rest of the world found themselves in a much worse place, and we are actually reaping the results of that right now. So that's the primary topic to watch. So to summarize it all up, I think that the second half of this year is extremely important for the future of the economy, markets, and like planet overall. And the key thing to watch is American elections. And the key question is, will the political system of the states become more balanced, or will it keep its tendency towards polarization? On top of that, I think we will see relatively high oil prices till the end of the year, but I think that they will become lower and they will return to their downtrend in the coming months. That's for sure, in my estimation. AI will continue to be a major theme. I don't think that we will see many of that humanoid AI products getting into market at this point, but the disruption of the traditional economy will continue. And we will talk about stocks tomorrow in detail, but I think that maybe right now we're witnessing the second wave of AI adoption with AI supply chain stocks. And I think we will see maybe a third wave of that with additional stocks related to the topic. And on top of that, we will see a proliferation of alternative energy stocks like we're seeing now with the full cycle solar companies like MWH. And we will also see lots of stocks related to the new generation of atomic energy. So that could be the theme for the second half of this year.